Good afternoon. We're back with more Marvel Champions. And today will be Doctor Strange versus Nebula on expert difficulty. No campaign cards involved. Just a straight up matchup. So let's get the decks shuffled up. See what we got from the invocation deck. For the setup, we've got nothing from Nebula. We've got Nebula's ship, Milano, Power Stone on Nebula. We discard the top two of the encounter deck and detach each technique discarded. 1, 2, no techniques. So let's get our hand. It's not a bad hand. We'll get rid of Mystical Studies. And then we've got Nebula's ship. When the villain phase begins, place one evasion counter here, and to remove those we have to exhaust the Milano and spend up to 2 resources of any type. Remove one invasion counter for each resource spent this way. So you can only do this once per round. That's a big challenge in solo compared to multiplayer. Because in multiplayer you can't do it once per player, you can only do it once. But you have the other player's help of spending the resources. You don't have to have the same player doing it every round. It's by percentage less of your resources are spent. So for the art of evasion, we have plus X threat, where X is equal to the number of evasion counters, so it's absolutely essential to keep the evasion counters down, which essentially means that you're starting out each round short 2 resources, and that is a huge handicap. Starting out each round down 1 in hand size with Hulk or Thor is the primary reason why those champions are weak. Starting out each round down 2 resources is a huge burden. I would not be surprised at all if we cannot beat this encounter on Expert, even with no campaign cards involved. And if that's the case, then we'll switch to Standard, and if we can't beat it on Standard either, then we'll table this boss for later, when we have a more advanced collection. The first 3 bosses I thought were just fine on Expert difficulty with no campaign cards. Nebula and Ronan may not be. We'll see. So let's get started. We'll at least give it a couple of attempts. I'm going to use Stephen Strange to get rid of 7 rings. There's images of Icon. So we'll use one. We probably want to save these double resource things to remove resources, but we'll burn one of them or 2 of them to get out Goliath. Use him to thwart. The Milano, can that be used for anything useful? I don't think I want to get out Goliath, actually. Let's go. I'm going to assume that you can use the power of leadership for Nebula's ship, or the power in all of us. Let's go Milano plus power in all of us for Spider-Man, and we'll give him +2 attack for this phase. And we'll attack for 4. Which transfers the Power Stone. Oh no, that's after a hero or villain. Spider-Man is an ally. And then we'll use Goliath to images of Icon for a confusion and threat removal. And then we'll draw 2. Ready up. So when the villain phase begins, we place 1 evasion counter, then there's +1 threat. And then Nova is going to attack, which will face tank. She's attacking for 3. 4 +1 evasion token. Ouch. And we got an encounter card, which is Ruthless. Treachery. Nebula attacks you. If damage is dealt by this activation, place 1 evasion counter on Nebula's ship. We probably just lost. She's attacking for 3, so I will take damage. I'll have Doctor Strange tank it. I can't have Doctor Strange tank it. I need him for Winds of Watum. So I will just eat the damage, which is 5. 1 more evasion token. And we can only ever remove 1 evasion token per round. because you have to exhaust the Milano in order to do it. So these evasion tokens that stack up are never coming off if more than one goes on per round. Let's go ahead and for the hero phase we will use Power of Leadership and the Milano to remove one evasion token. We'll use Doctor Strange and Winds of Watum. We'll use Spiritual Meditation. And we'll discard Magical Enhancements. Crimson Bands, that's good. We can use Master of the Mystic Arts and Energy. And we'll spend the Quinn Carrier to do that to get 7 damage on Nebula. 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, yep. And a stun, that's going to move the Power Stone over. And then we'll go ahead and pay 2 for Eye of Agamotto. Vapors of Valtor is the last one. Eye of Agamotto, and then we'll draw 4. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, threat. Remove stun, 1 encounter card. Hopefully it's mild. Pirate Lackey, which has Quick Strike, which has got to go on Spider-Man. Should have used Spider-Man to attack. Why didn't I use him to attack? I don't know. But anyway, now the damage will kill him. After this minion attacks and damages you, remove the top card of your deck from the game. Oh, he damaged he damaged an ally, not me. So for the hero phase, we've got to use the Milano and 2 resources. That'll be Squirrel Girl. Well, first let's go Spiritual Meditation. Draw 2, discard 1. I really need that cloak. I also really need Wong to get rid of Vapors of Valtor. Alright, this is gonna hurt, but I think I have to get out Wong. I think I need to get rid of the pirate. And then we'll just draw 4. Or no, I can use the Milano and the Eye to get out the cloak. No point in threat removal because we're advancing the plot next round. So we'll just go and draw 5. Actually, we're going to flip to Alter Ego and draw 6. This isn't going to be a win. 2 evasion counters on Nebula's ship. That's absurd. You really can't get into phase 2. For each evasion counter, discard the top 2 cards of each player deck and the encounter deck. That's 12. Five, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. And then the villain doesn't scheme, she's confused. Do have an encounter card. Discard from the top of the encounter deck until a technique is discarded. Reveal that card, then resolve its special ability. That's pretty bad. Technique is Weapon Mastery. Gets revealed, attached to Nebula. Special, take 1 damage. That's not that bad. We'll discard Vapors of Valtor. Will heal. Another Vapors of Valtor. We'll use Wong on that one. Winds of Watum. Okay. So we'll flip. Oh, I should have protective warded that Weapon mastery. Let's just retcon that. Easy to do. Means all these cards go back on the deck. So not that easy to do. But I'm going to do it because the alternative is losing immediately. Where is that? Maybe I can't retcon it. Where did that treachery go? I don't know. Okay, maybe it can't be retconned because I can't figure out where this went. Oh well. I don't think we're going to win anyway. But we can at least get into phase 2, I guess, because there's 6 evasion tokens. Can't deal with 5 threat per round, and that's if no more evasion tokens come down there. Let's Winds of Watum. Draw 3. That would bring an extra encounter card. Let's see. McFury. Deal 4 damage. So if we could burn through 20 more. That would take several turns though. We need the evasion tokens to take longer to set up. So let's go ahead and restart. Okay, we're back. We'll get everything shuffled up. Crimson Bands. And it seemed like I'm throwing away Make the Call almost all the time. It may be time for that card to go from the deck. Okay. Start out with a spiritual meditation. We can magical enhancements, make the call for cloak. And we'll flip over to Doctor Strange. And we'll go master the mystic arts using the Milano. We'll pay the cost of 2 for Crimson Bands. 7 damage and a stun. And then we'll go thwart and attack. And that's going to transfer the Power Stone since it was an attack for 7. Oh, it's a special. It just deals 3 damage. It's not an attack. Oh, with a single attack. Crimson Bands is not an attack. It's not labeled as an attack. So, draw 5. 1 threat, remove stun, 1 evasion, and 1 encounter card. Power Siphon, exhaust the Milano, I can't do that. Discard 1 card at random, that's no problem. Off to a decent start, I would say. Let's go Power of Leadership for Squirrel Girl, deal 1 damage. We use Power of Leadership in the Milano to take 1 evasion token off. And we'll use Squirrel Girl to thwart for 1. We'll use Doctor Strange and Cloak to damage for 2. We'll draw 4. So 1 threat, 1 attack. One encounter card, one evasion token. Quick strike. Okay. So for the hero turn, spiritual meditation, draw 2, discard 1, draw 2, discard 1. Probably Mockingbird. We'll use... Boy, I really don't want to use 2 resources here, but we'll go 1, 2 resources, and the Milano for 1 evasion token. We'll go Doctor Strange for Crimson Bands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and a stun. That'll push Nebula into phase 2. And then we'll use Doctor Strange for Winds of Watum. We'll use Strength for Ironheart. We'll use the remaining 3 cards for Magic Blast. 5 plus stun, he's already stunned. And then Ironheart for 1 damage, and then we'll draw 5. So we have 1 evasion, 1 threat, remove 1 stun, attack for 2, 1 encounter card, physical toll, so we have to exhaust Doctor Strange. Okay. Well, we can go spend 2 resources to keep the evasion down. Gonna spend 2 for Maria Hill, draw a card. We'll flip, we'll use Cloak, threat reduction, damage. We'll draw 4. And we'll go evasion, 1 threat, attack, which will go on Ironheart. Attack for 2, and then 1 encounter card. So I should have removed the top card of my deck twice for those attacks. At least twice. Yeah, I think it's twice. And then after that attack, did I already do an encounter card? No, I have not. So after the Pirate Lackey attacks, we've got 1 encounter card, which is evasive maneuvering. So there's a technique. Nebula gains Stalwart, which means I can't stun her. Can I deal 13 damage this round? I can go 5, 6, 7. Probably not. So we can go into, let's just end this mode. Where we go, we'll use Cloak and power, or the Milano, I think, to play Images of Icon. Drop threat, add confuse. We can go energy for Sorcerer Supreme. Power in all of us, Genius for Magic Blast. 5 plus the science resource, which is a confuse. It's already confused. Deal 1 damage, and we'll flip to Alter Ego, and we'll cycle Vapors. And then we'll draw 6. and hope we can end it next round. So 1 evasion, 2 threat, 1 confuse. This special is going to go off because Nebula initiates an activation, I think. Does the confuse prevent that from going off? I'm going to look that up. I doubt that it does. So I didn't find the answer to that question, but I did find that when Nebula gains Stalwart, the confuse was supposed to be removed immediately. And that means that she gets to scheme for 1, 2, 3. And then when she activates, we resolve the special because she's not confused anymore. So I'm stunned. And I can then remove the top card of my deck from the game to discard that attachment, which I will do. I already added the threat for the Pirate Lackey, right? Yeah, I did. No, I did not. The Pirate Lackey still needs to scheme. So the Pirate Lackey schemes. We get 2 more evasion counters. And we discard 8 cards from the top of the deck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And from the encounter deck. Okay. Wait. Did I get the timing wrong? I'm gonna have to go back and look. No, it's fine. I just need to deal one encounter card. And that encounter card will be a Surge, since we're an alter ego. Discard an upgrade or a support. Probably Sorcerer Supreme. We have basically 1 turn, maybe 2, to finish off the 7 health of Nebula. So in Stephen Strange mode for the player turn, we're going to remove 7 rings. And hope we get a good draw here. Vapors of Valtor, not what I had in mind. Well, what do I have to make the call with? Do I have Nick Fury? I do not, but I do have Goliath. And Goliath can deal 5. So if we just flip to Stephen Strange, make the call. 1, 2, 3, 4 for Goliath. Activate his ability for +4 attack. That's attack for 5. Maria Hill for 1. And Doctor Strange is stunned, but I have the cape as well for the final damage. I wonder what the next card would have been if I had used Cloak to remove this stun and make it a tough. 7 rings, okay. Well, this is a tough scenario, but it's beatable on expert difficulty with no campaign cards involved. So I have no issue with the way that the first 4 of these scenarios were designed. In fact, I think they're quite good without the campaign cards. They're not easy, for sure. They're a little bit harder. Well, are they harder? I think the final 2 of the Red Skull campaign were pretty difficult. So Nebula is really a race. I have no issue with there being a race type of scenario. I think this is fine on expert difficulty with no campaign cards. Now, once again, to evaluate this, we got to look at what the campaign would require of us. And it requires, even on normal difficulty, the Guerrilla Tactics side quest, which on normal difficulty is 8. 8 threat to clear, but you don't have to clear it, it's optional on normal difficulty. You also have to shuffle each galactic artifact side scheme from the previous quest into the encounter deck. And then you have to add additional effects for each of the side quests that were added. So if in the last side quest we cleared Hudarian Monarch Egg, we have to place an additional evasion counter. If it's Magical Teapot, you have to deal 1 encounter card face down. If it's Philosopher's Stone, you have to give Nebula a boost. If it's Crystal Ball, you have to give Nebula a tough status. If you're playing on Expert, you have to start the game with 1 technique on Nebula, which is a huge handicap because really you're hoping with this encounter for her not to get any techniques, or at worst 1, because they're all pretty ferocious. And if you're playing on Expert, you have to start with 10 threat on a side quest that gives +1 boost and +1 encounter card. That is an absurd level of challenge for an Expert difficulty quest relative to what we've seen before. Now, if their goal with the Expert campaign here is to make it unbeatable until future cards come out, I can accept that, because the Lord of the Rings LCG, one of the earliest quests in the game from the core set, in fact, was unbeatable on Nightmare mode. Of course, Nightmare mode wasn't released right away. It was virtually unbeatable on Standard mode, but it was beatable with core set cards. But the Nightmare mode wasn't beatable for a long time, but it wasn't intended to be, because the Nightmare decks didn't come out for quite a bit, until quite a bit later. It is my opinion that these campaigns should be designed to be a challenge on Expert, but be beatable, and Heroic can be unbeatable without future cards. That's fine. But at the least you need Standard mode to be beatable, and in the campaign, the standard campaign, I think the first 4 bosses are probably fine because we were able to beat them on Expert without any campaign cards. The campaign cards would add difficulty on the first 4 bosses, but they don't make it like unreasonable, though you do have to play a top tier deck. You can't actually play the heroes that were included with this set, Rocket and Groot, to beat Expert. But with top tier decks, you can beat Expert with these bosses, which is fine. But so we'll withhold judgment until we see Ronin on Expert, and because that's where the real difficulty of this campaign lies, from what I've heard and from what I've seen briefly when I took a look at Ronin in advance. So anyway, Nebula on Expert with no campaign cards, not bad. Similar to the first 3 bosses, I have no issue with the first 4 bosses, which means that players can very easily use the content in this expansion to create their own campaign that is similar to the Rise of the Red Skull. And after we see Ronin, I'll give my opinion about what the best way to do that would be. But anyway, thank you for watching.